My top scripts that get the best wholesale deals done. Guys, it's Rick Ginn. In today's video, I'm going to break down my best scripts in 4 critical categories on inbound leads, your rapport building, your acquisitions, negotiations, discussions, and how to deal with cash buyers so you can have the best outcome to get the best wholesale deals. But before I get into it, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, you hit that subscribe button to continue to receive the most authentic, true information on wholesaling today. So the first one we talked about was inbound leads. And what's an inbound lead? An inbound lead is when a seller is contacting you. I love these techniques because sometimes their motivation is front and forward when they do this. Remember, for a seller to contact you, it takes a lot of guts to admit you have a problem and you want to get rid of it. And for that reason, I absolutely love inbound leads, one of my favorite techniques. So what I want to do is share with you the scripts I use to be the most effective on inbound leads. So the first one, it's crazy I have to even say this. I have gone on 20 plus years on this. If you're going to put a phone number out there, please, for God's sakes, answer your phones. There's nothing worse than a motivated seller reaching out and getting your voicemail or getting some recorded like Google voice thing. Honestly, more than half the time if they do that, they just hang up on you. So let's get this straight. You spend all that energy getting these lists, creating the perfect marketing message, and they call you and you can't pick up the phone. Listen, if you want to be truly effective in inbound leads, make sure you make it a priority to answer your phones live. For so many years in this business, there's so many gurus have taught you just let it go to voicemail, send them to a landing page. I've always just sat there and answered my phone live. Now, I answered my phone way too long live, but I learned. I had a huge competitive advantage to all my other competitors because once they answered the phone live, I simply said this: hey, Susie, I'm so glad you called me and I want to work with you on a solution on buying your house. I have all your information. Do me a favor. Before we meet tomorrow morning, I want you to take all those postcards, all those messages you got, and I want you to set them aside and please don't call anyone else. At least give me a chance. Let me talk to you. And that way we can get a clear understanding of how we can help you out. Can you do that for me? And she says, oh yeah, I don't want to make any more phone calls, Rick. You see, by me answering my phone live, I block all my competitors, realtors, and everyone else. And I just ask them for permission not to talk to anybody else till I talk to them. See, by answering my phone live, I have that huge competitive advantage. Answer your phones live. So step number 2 is you have to smile when you're talking to people. Well, Rick, we're on the phone. They can't see me. I promise you they can feel your energy if you're smiling. So many times when I'm working with you guys, helping you out with wholesaling, sometimes I do like video chats with you stuff. If you're not smiling on a video, you're probably not smiling on the phone. So make it a habit of smile when you talk to people. Honestly, only good things are going to happen in your life if you're always smiling. Nobody complains, just smile too much. But if people see you with a frown or they hear you with a frown, they know it. It's hard not to be enthusiastic when you're smiling. Guys, please smile when you're on your phone. Number 3 is a critical step. So when people call us on an inbound, we are all like just, hopefully you're smiling, you've answered your phone live, you're well on your path, you're just talking, you're trying to build a rapport. Honestly, I don't even focus on the house when I call in. I just say, how's your day going? I ask a lot of open-ended questions. Hey, I can't believe it's raining in Florida. I can't believe it's sunny in Florida. And I want them to connect. The more they talk, the better my shot at connecting them. But there is a risk. A lot of us, we get so comfortable building rapport that if you do it too long, you run the risk of not being able to bridge to actually getting down to business with them. And here's simply what I do. If you get off topic when you're talking to them, I want you to use a bridge statement. And it simply goes like this: Mr. Seller, I could talk to you all a day about the sports team and about how wonderful the weather is here in Florida, but do you mind if I ask you a few questions to see if your house qualifies for our company to buy it? That's simple. Because now they're like, okay, we're going to get down to business. Honestly, you will get credibility. And number 2, you take some of the awkwardness out of the conversation, because if you stick in rapport land too long, you never get anything done. And they don't really take you seriously. So use the bridge. Hey, I could talk to you all day about this, this, and that. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions to see if your property qualifies? You see, that statement makes a tremendous difference in the outcome of your ability to buy great wholesale deals. And then from there, you're just going to go into qualifying. It's MCTP, motivation, condition, timeline, and price, and just go through and ask open-ended questions and listen very carefully. I can't tell you how important it is for you to listen. Guys, these are critical when you have inbound leads. These are the steps I take to make a huge difference on inbound leads. Please use them. So the next technique is about rapport building. Now, this can be at any phase when you're dealing with a motivated seller. And so sometimes it's just on the phone and sometimes it's in person. We're going to do both of them to help you out here. So number one, get the seller's name correct. Ask them if they have a hard to pronounce name, ask for their pronunciation of it. Why? It engages your customer, and I have never met a seller or any person for that matter that doesn't like to hear their name said. The more often you use the seller's name, the more you're going to grab their attention, and it'll also give you feedback if your seller's actually engaging with you and you're actually building rapport so you can actually have a conversation. So please interject the seller's name as much as you humanly possibly can. You cannot say it enough. I repeat, you cannot say the seller's name enough. Just make sure you get it right. Number two, for those of you that are going on physical appointments, I want you to understand this. The words we speak they're extremely critical, but 70% of communication is nonverbal. You've got to understand that. You've got to look people in the eyes when you're looking at them. You want to use your hands and incorporate it. You want to mirror people's actions. Looking at people's eyes is one of the most critical factors that you can tell if you're going to get a good wholesale deal. Actually, a great wholesale deal. When people look up, they're trying to figure out what to say to you because they're not happy with something. Disappointment looks down. And guys, you can look all this stuff up. I'm not an expert on human behavior, but I've spent a lot of time watching people, and their eyes is one of the most telltale signs. The inflection in their voice, their posture, everything counts. Now, if you guys are on the phone, you can still use some of these communication nonverbal cues to make it work. Not as many, but you can mirror your customer. If they talk really fast, you talk fast. If they talk slow, you talk slow. If they talk loud, and then some of the inflection in your voice. Guys, don't be a robot. AI is coming. Let that do it for you. Remember, AI only connects you to your customers. You actually have to make the difference and connect with them with your rapport building skills. This makes a tremendous difference. You always have a competitive advantage if you can meet a seller face to face, belly to belly, because you can see every one of their actions and you can use that intel to get the best wholesale deal possible. So listen, before you go on these appointments, before I get you in step three, is you got to do pre-intel. Look people up on social media, see what's going on. You can find out their likes, their hobbies, the schools they went to, the type of family they have, how many kids they have, even names of the family's names. I wouldn't go too deep into it, but the more you know on someone, the better you can connect with a conversation. Because if you don't know anything, you got to shoot from the hip and you have to figure it out while you're there. So more information you can gather before your appointment, either in person or on the phone, makes a tremendous difference. Now, step three is when you're going on your physical appointment, let the seller take you on a tour in the home. Even if you don't want to take the tour, take the tour. It's just a pride thing for a lot of sellers, even in ugly houses. And honestly, you need to get a lay and feel of the house. The key is you want to use this tour to gain as much insight on your seller as humanly possible. The key is actually finding out more about your seller than the actual house. You can always come back and figure the house out later. So when I come in, a couple tricks, I always look at the ceiling first. I'm looking for leak stains, dirt, debris, and I look at the flooring. Ceiling and the flooring can almost tell me what kind of house I have right away. Then I'm going to use the walls and everything else because people put pictures, plaques, flags, everything else on the wall. And I'm going to use that and gather that intel as I'm touring the house and they're telling me everything about it. I'm already sizing up what are their hobbies, what are they, a family person, are they a dog person, are they a cat person, and I'm going to use that to gain my rapport building skills with them. You see, without it, you're just shooting from the hip. Once you tour an entire house, which usually takes 5 to 10 minutes, you should walk away with so much information that actually having a conversation with them is going to be really easy. So you have to understand this. Look at the basics. You can always go back and look at the house, but you only got one chance to make a first impression. The more you can connect with them with your rapport building skills and churn it into a conversation, the better your odds of getting the best wholesale deal. And then once again, step 4, when you're doing rapport building, especially when you're physically in person with them, and this can go on the phone, is you're going to have that bridge statement. So what happens is you walk around the house and then you sit down. If they're sitting, you're sitting, and you start getting in a conversation. If it's going really well, you have to have a bridge statement, meaning you've gone on maybe 10, 12 minutes. Now it's time to get out of rapport building and get down the business without burning your seller. How do you do that? Just do a bridge statement, just like we did on the phone earlier. Go, listen, Mr. Seller, I could talk about our kids all day long. We love them. It's everything in our life. And I see the pride in your children, but I could talk all day about them. Let's do this. Let's get down and talk about the house. And let me see if I can qualify your house for our company to buy. And then I promise you at the end, we'll pick up this conversation. And I got some really cool ideas to talk to you about, like some family trips we did. Maybe you can get some value from it. Sound sound fair? Simple as that, guys. You have to have the bridge statement. So many times I got caught what I call kind of the friend zone, where your rapport and your conversation's so good, you're scared to get out of it. Like, oh my God, I gotta have a negotiation with this person. How can I? They're like my best friend. Use the bridge statement. And that rapport and that conversation is what's going to keep your deal together when you get down to the negotiation. So make sure you use it. So now we're at the point where we've already walked through the property and we're coming down to what we call the nitty gritty of wholesaling, the negotiations. It's like, how do you start a negotiations? This is really simple. And by the way, I teach all these techniques at freewholesaling.com, 100% for free, and you can go there for more detail. This is the part where I'm going to teach you how to do the go for no method. So if you haven't heard me talk about this, it is a technique that I have cultivated over the last 20 years of doing wholesaling because I got so frustrated when deals didn't work out. You got to understand, most wholesalers try to go in for the yes right off the bat. And the problem is, say if the property's worth 200 and you offer 180, 185 and they turn you down, what are you going to do? There's no money to be made there. And honestly, you just wasted all your time. You're better off by building an incredible conversation with your rapport building skills and just going for a no. Just because they say no, it doesn't mean you're over. It just means you got to find that the price that they're willing to let the property go that makes sense. And by the way, every seller has a number in their head for the most part. There's a few exceptions for it. So you trying to guess the number in their head is the biggest mistake you can make in wholesaling. So I want you to go for no. Rick, how do I go for no? It's simple. I'm going to teach you 3 different techniques that you can easily use this script to go for the no, as long as you build an incredible conversation through your rapport building skills. So how do I go for the no? So if the property's worth 200, depending on the condition and all the factors they tell me coming in, if your maximum allowable offer is 170, make an offer substantially below that. You're probably thinking, Rick, I'm going to get rejected. That's the whole point of going for no. It saves you time and it draws out the final price of your motivated seller so you can come to a deal quicker and a more profitable deal. Let me explain this. What if they say yes to your first offer? It means you offered too much. Guys, this is business. I'm not making anyone sell us a house. Obviously, we're targeting houses that have issues. The seller has a price in their mind. If you chase a price too high, they're going to move the price up on you. Ask me how I know this. I'm going to teach you 3 techniques so you can use the go for no method, and I want you to use them. So the first one is good cop, bad cop. And it's actually one of my favorites. And if you're a beginner in it, it's probably the best one to start out with. And it just, you're the good cop. So let me save you. You're going to save face here. You have a partner, could be your wife, could be your brother. I don't care who it is. That's going to be the bad cop. And you're there with the good information, but you got to get the bad cop's consent. So Mr. Seller, I know that you said you needed 170 for the house. Under the right circumstances, you might be able to get that if you went through the whole pomp and circumstance of a traditional market. But I got to be honest with you, to get the house sold fast and do everything, I talked to my business partner and he said we have $125,000 available. I'm like, I don't shoot the messenger, but that's, would you take 125? And just, are you crazy? I go, yeah, I know. My partner's nuts. He's crazy and he just, sometimes he's not here. I feel with you, we've connected, but can we find a number that works? And I'll calm him down. I'm here for you. I want to make this work. And they go, listen, okay, 170. Would you consider like 150? Seller says back to you and you go, tell you what, let me check with my partner and I'm going to push it. And then sometimes I go out and make a phone call. And then the thing is you haggle through it and you're the one trying to save the deal, trying to help the seller out. And then honestly, it allows you to transfer breaking the bad news to someone else other than you. It makes it a little bit easier for you and it lets the seller know it's not me, it's my partner. And it works. Now, it doesn't work all the time, but I'm telling you, if you have to use it as a fail-safe, that's the one I always start out doing. Remember, you're looking to get to a final negotiation. Now, obviously, when we make the 120, 125 offer, it's going to get rejected. If it gets accepted, great. And I've had that happen before, but for the most part, it gets rejected. That allows your seller to give you a counter. And what you want to do is pull out that subconscious counter. That's what the going for no technique does. So that's technique number 1, good cop, bad cop. Technique number 2 is very similar to good cop, bad cop, but you are the only person. You're not blaming anyone else. And we call it the scrunchy face. And what this does is whenever there's a negotiation, there is stress. It doesn't matter. There's actually stress on your seller, which you guys have to acknowledge, and there's stress on you. They want to get it done, and they're just as uncomfortable as you are. It's just the truth. So here's how I deliver a go for no offer with a scrunchy face. Mr. Seller, I tell you what, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking around the house. Would you consider $120,000? I mean, if not, I understand. And would you? And what I'm doing is I'm taking the stress off the seller and I'm putting it on me. And I'm making me feel wildly uncomfortable. And what will happen is your seller actually feels uncomfortable for you. Go, listen, Rick, I know you're getting uncomfortable. Listen, I thought about it. I talked to my wife. 145 is the least we can take. Now, what have I done? I've drawn out a counter offer. And now my negotiation's gone from 145 between 120 and 125. Now, that 145, I don't plan on ending there, but I know that's my worst case scenario at this point. It works really well. And just, you got to feel awkward. And here's the keys. You really do feel awkward doing it anyways. So just embrace it. Remember, we're not making anyone sell us a property. We're targeting properties that need love. They need help, and we're going to guide them. We need to find out what their best offer is, because remember, when we buy these properties, we're selling them to cash buyers that have no idea what the end profit's going to be. So we have to buy them at a deep discount. Use the scrunchy face. It works. Okay. The third one's a little more complex, but it's very doable. It's called the volley method. And this is the point when you come to negotiation where the seller just won't give you a number. So I always say, hey, Mr. Seller, what do you need to get rid of this property? It's simple as that. That's how I say it. I don't make this complicated. It's not what you ask for. What price do you need? Hey, what do you need to get rid of the property? It's very direct. And the idea is to program and get in that subconscious mind to see what their bottom line number is. Remember, we have a top line number. They have a bottom line number. We got to find a way to meet in the middle. Now, some sellers go, well, I don't know, Rick, you're the expert. You tell me what it's worth and what you can pay for it. And I simply rephrase the question. So if you've ever been in a volleyball match or a tennis match, the ball's got to keep going over, back and forth. And what happens if you can serve that ball back at least twice and overcome 2 objections, you can typically get a response from your sellers. So let me demonstrate how it's going to work. Hey, Mr. Seller, I know you don't know what the price is, but if you had to guess, what do you need to get for this property? That's one way to serve it to him. The second one, he goes, Rick, as I told you, I'm not the expert on it. Just tell me what you can do and let's move on. And Mr. Seller, I can appreciate you don't know exactly what you need, considering all the repairs and trying to get the property sold quickly. But if you had to ballpark it, what do you think would work for you and your wife to get rid of this property? You see, all I've done is rephrase the question, thrown a bunch of adjectives and served it back. And I will do that until I get an answer, because at some point the sellers get frustrated and they go, listen, 150 is the least I can take. That's the number. That's what you want. I go, phew. Okay. So now that is my new starting point. So I'm turning between 150, because I didn't even make an offer yet. I know he's gone from 170 to 150, and we've only done a basic conversation. Guys, the volley method works. Here's the key with these 3 methods. You have to practice them. Do not try to do this on your first shot. Practice, 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 practice. The volley method is you're just recycling the words and throwing it back over. It works because you eventually get a counter from your seller. Once you get a counter, you have a negotiations, and you can either close the gap or you can move on if the deal doesn't work, and you can shake their hand. You can refer them to a realtor. Okay, the last technique is cash buyers, and this is really straightforward. I don't spend a lot of time. Most of my questions in my script with a cash buyer is just a yes or a no. And by the way, all these scripts are at freewholesaling.com. You can check them all out there. Number one, I want to find out what their parameters are buying, what areas they're buying in, what's the price points they want, and what type of projects they're looking for. You've got to separate your rehabbers, fix and flippers from your landlords. They do not mix. They are completely different types of buyers, and make sure you segment how you offer your deals on that. My first and utmost important question I ask all cash buyers, are you familiar with doing an assignment of contract, and have you done one before? If they've never heard of it and they've never done one before, understand you're going to have to train that cash buyer, and they're probably 2 to 3 months from ever buying a deal from you, because most people think it's weird to do an assignment of contract just because they don't understand it. If you need to explain it to them, bring them over to your title company, have your title company explain to them. But I don't spend a lot of energy on these people because they take months to understand the concept. They think it's a scam. Don't invest your time in that type of buyer. It will be it's usually 2 to 3 months before they will accept doing business that way. The second most important question, are you the decision maker? Yes or no? I don't want to hear you got to talk to your dad, you got to talk to your mom, your brother, your sister, your partner. Make sure you have the decision makers there on the phone, because you're wasting your time if you don't have the person as the authority to enter into a contract with you. And then I ask them about speed to close. Why? Because I'm trying to get deals done in 2 weeks or less. So if they don't have the ability to close quickly via assignment of contract, I'm not going to put them on my cash buyers list. And the last one we all talk about is the proof of funds. And let me qualify by this saying is, yes, I want a proof of funds from every cash buyer. But if you're new to wholesaling business and you don't have a deal, it's hard to ask for a proof of funds because you're not offering them anything. So do all the pre-qualifying questions I taught you here and what we teach on freewholesaling.com. And then let them know when you get a deal, they can submit that proof of funds before you send the deal over is more than customary to do it that way. But I understand a lot of cash buyers, serious ones like me, I'm not giving a proof of funds if you don't have deals, because I don't know what you're going to do with that proof of funds. And a good cash buyer is going to protect themselves. You've got to know this when you ask cash buyers these questions. That's why it's important to add this to your script. So guys, let me know in the comments, are you going to use these scripts to increase your percentage to close the best wholesale deals possible to you? Let me know in the comments. If you got any feedback, I would love to hear about it. And guys, if you got value from this video, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, you hit that subscribe notification button to continue to receive the best up-to-date information on wholesaling today. Guys, this is Ginn, and I will see you in the next video. See you guys.